Hey everyone, and welcome to the Basics of Digital Art, Basics of Digital Painting class. I'm Pete Moorwalker. I'm your teacher, and I'm going to get the screen share up here. No one even reminded me. I managed to do this all on my own. So what we do here is every week I give an assignment, and then, first I review last week's assignments. We go over it. We spend about an hour looking over the homework from the previous week, and then at the end of the class, I give an assignment for the next week. Holy shit! I just realized I forgot to pull reference for next week's assignment. So we're gonna have to do. You know what? We're gonna do something from imagination then. Maybe it's a feature, not a bug. Anyways, the way this works is that when you see your art come up on screen, you are welcome to raise your hand. And if you want to chit-chat with me over voice, you can come on stage and we can chit-chat. Otherwise, if you're shy or don't have a mic, you are able to chat over the text. If I've already pre-picked your thing, I'm going to review it anyways. A bunch of you can't make it for the live classes, and so I do try to review people's stuff, even if they're only going to catch the VODs. Thanks, everyone, for joining me. This is such a pleasure to do every week. First up, we've got Silver-Eyed, who's an OG around here, who I don't see in the chat. So, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do an unprecedented move. I'm going to skip over him just in case they want to come back later. AFA84 was saying, I just tried to have a bit of fun while I was doing it and use some brushes I don't usually use. And you know what? I wanted to pull this one out, not because I had anything to critique about it, but just because I wanted to highlight the attitude that was going on here, the mindset, I think, as we call it these days. You can just see the fun that AFA is having here. Like, the fun is so obviously on display. You could see it in the way that the work is being made, the liveliness of the lines and the mark making. You can see it in the personality of the character. You can hear it in the comment, like, I was just trying to have a bit of fun and use it, and then also experiment a little bit with brushes and things. This is the kind of chill attitude that I feel like is important for us to have with imaginative work. And I feel like we need to establish this as being like a key point of conversation going forwards, because there is a counterpoint here inside the conversation. So I just want to say, great job, AFA. I wanted to highlight the great attitude here. This is not a life or death moment. This is having fun making art and drawing a cool catfish fisherman. All right? This is as good as it gets in my book. And if Silver-Eyed shows up, we'll see if they're want to come on stage. Rodrigo. Is Rodrigo here? Yes. Coming on stage right now. Rodrigo, how's it going? Or Rodrigo. If you're talking, I can't hear you. I don't see your thing lighting up. Uh-oh. Oh, your mic doesn't seem to be working. Oh, I can give you a second. Rodrigo is saying, this is my first time actually drawing an OC. I didn't get around to fully rendering it, but I'm happy with it anyways. And like, this is the thing that blew my mind about this assignment this week, was how many of you have just never done an OC. So, Rodrigo, if you're working on fixing your mic, if at any point you fix it, feel free to just jump in and interrupt me. I can't conceive of a time in my art career where I wasn't just drawing fun guys, for no reason, like AFA was doing, just like making a fun little guy, like designing something from scratch, having an idea for a character, and then like making it. To me, that is what making genre art, fantasy art, illustration, whatever it is, the conversation we're having here, that's concept art. All of that to me comes back to just wanting to come up with cool guys and draw them. And there is a real movement that's happened. Yeah, you can just talk on the text. It's fine. I can see your chat. I was kind of hoping to get a little bit of your perspective on this, because I think what I'm saying is that I feel like I'm out of touch. There's clearly like a movement that's happened in the art community away from just coming up with fun ideas for characters and just making them. And I don't relate to it. And so I'm hoping to understand more over the course of this session, because it to me seems like deeply strange. But it's like, I personally think that if you are, you sketch OCs all the time, but you never try to finish them. Interesting. Yeah, I want to hear more perspectives on this as we go through the feedback this week. This character design to me feels, there's a few of these that feel like they are, very true to like a standard medieval fantasy look, with very traditional looking armor, something that would maybe be a cosplay at a Renaissance festival. And what's interesting is it also seems to go along with, there is a trend in media where fantasy has become increasingly kind of systematized and standardized. So you have, even in like the kind of weird anime, fantasy stuff that we get, like there is a real standard kind of D&D Tolkien-esque version of fantasy that is just kind of out there right now. And that, like, it feels like the culture is kind of accepted that there's a series of rules for this, and there's just standards. And even in like weird anime, like, the one where they cook all the monsters in the dungeon, it's like, or like, everyone's talking about how Frieren is so good, and it's like they're all like super, super straightforward traditional fantasy. And that trend, again, like eludes me. I don't fully understand it. Because for me, what fantasy is it's a blank canvas to be able to make expressive characters that don't conform to reality. These tropes, these personas of like a knight or a mage, to me, they are like a starting point that represents, the kinds of personalities and character traits we associate with the kinds of people who would be those characters in fantasy. And so creating those kinds of characters to me is an exploration of those personalities, those personas, more so than an exercise in trying to recreate medieval clothing. So my recommendation to you, Rodrigo, since this is your piece we're looking at, I think this guy's cool. He's a cool knight, magic wielding knight character. But I am, if you're not doing it already, I want to encourage you to try to take this, try to peel away a little bit of the heraldry, peel away some of the, the more conventional fantasy-ness of it, and see what you can find as far as the underlying personality of these characters. Like, this knight is themed to a dragon. What kind of associations do you have with the dragon personally? What kind of personality do they have? What kind of words do you associate with them? What kinds of actions do you associate with them? How does that relate to a person that you could be in a room with? And like, what is that kind of person dressed like? How do they stand? Like, how are they proportioned? How do they want to be seen by others? How do they see themselves? Investigating these questions leads us to visual design decisions that will inform creative, original stuff that just comes from us. And this was, when I was doing my creative character design course, this is what we were talking about, basically for 8 weeks straight, and it's very difficult. So I thought this week is a week where some people are going to have a really easy time because this is all they did, while other people are going to have a really hard time, because if you're not used to that kind of introspection, and in terms of character design, it can be a really difficult, practice to go through. All right. Thanks for submitting your work. Sorry about your mic. I am really curious about your perspective on this, but we'll have to talk about it some other time. Silveride, did Silveride end up making it? If not, I'm just going to go over their work right now. Silveride says, this is Kaori. She's a kitsune, also a vampire. Oh, wait, Silveride's here. All right. Hey, I held the stage for you because you showed up a couple minutes late.
Hi.
Hey, how's it going?
Oh, pretty good. How about you?
Good. How was the work this week?
Not easy. Like OCs were the things that kind of got me into art, but I never really drew them because I didn't feel ready to draw any.
There's another one of the comments here that I pulled that said the same thing, and I have a feeling that's a really common sentiment in the room right now.
Yeah, I usually just did studies, and so I kind of had to step out of my comfort zone for this one.
Okay.
Because I wasn't used to drawing from, I don't know, combining different references and drawing from imagination and stuff.
Yeah.
It's complicated, but I really liked it. So.
But you did get into art because you wanted to make OCs.
Yes.
Okay. Well, there is this feeling that you need to get ready to be able to make OCs. Like you need to be good enough to be able to draw them and do a good job with them. And that's why you need to do all these studies so your OCs don't look bad. But I really want to encourage you to keep making OCs and trying to like bring them to life in as much fidelity as you can, whenever you can, and to mix that in along with the study. Because I think that this process, which you found very challenging, of realizing your OCs is like complementary, very complementary with the studies that you're doing. And that by going back and forth between studies and imaginative work like this, you're not only going to find your own voice faster, but you are going to learn those technical skills that you're doing the studies for faster as well. The challenges that you run into making this piece are giving you a map of where you need to like build more skills in your studies. And so you are having this like really strong learning experience of feeling that dissatisfaction of like, this should be better. I want to do better. I don't know what I'm doing with this. That is leaving a mark in your brain that will be realized when you go back and do more studies. But the studies themselves, they don't make you able to make this stuff all on their own. It's through repetition of completing this process of making your own characters over and over again that help build that. And so together, it's both sides of that coin that are necessary in order to get where you're wanting to go. And I also wanted to say, I thought you did a great job on this. Like, I'm sure you have criticisms for yourself about, the technical aspects of the work, but you have this fun, creative character that I can tell you have a real take on them. You have a sense of who this character is. You've been daydreaming about him, maybe like thinking about, do you have this thing where you have like a music video, you like listen to music and you have this like music video of your characters kind of playing in your head. You think about them or like come up with scenes in your head.
Sometimes, not for this one though. This one I wanted to write a whole story, but it didn't come together. So.
Oh yeah. Well, what was the wanting to write the story experience like? Well, what do you mean by wanting to write the story? Were you thinking through scenes?
Yeah. I used to do creative writing a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And so I created this character and I created a world and I wanted to write a story about this urban fantasy and cyberpunk setting like mixed together.
Yes.
And it didn't come together as a whole, like as the plot. It was complicated.
Yeah, but that's typical. I think that is the experience that everyone should have all the time. Like I think that most of the time when we come up with like a cool idea for a story in our head, the stories are ultimately kind of bad and they don't go anywhere, and we're never going to develop them into a novel or an RPG or a movie or whatever. But the experience of of like dreaming about them, trying to realize them, and like repeating that process over and over again is how we get good at this stuff. And so it's really, I find that time really valuable, even if it ultimately doesn't lead to like writing a great cyberpunk novel or make a great cyberpunk comic or whatever. And I think that experience was probably a lot of fun, even if it wasn't, didn't turn into anything, right?
Yes.
Okay, great. I saw this and I was like, I see like the fun you're having making this, and like I wanted to encourage you to continue to repeat this more because I think that you're on the right track.
Thank you. I definitely will.
Okay, great. Do you have any questions?
Not really, no.
Okay, great. Well, that's all I had to say about it. Thanks so much for participating.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right, we got Sean Gillespie here with a spider monkey, kind of literally a spider and a monkey mixed together. Our creatures characters, I tried doing one with a humanoid body, but it ended up with tentacles. Anyway, I've been looking at spider monkeys, and I had a really original idea. I'm not sure, Sean. You want to come on stage? You want to raise your hand? I see them there in the audience. I just, the question, hey, are creatures characters? And I'm like, absolutely, they are. Hand isn't up. Nope, I don't see it. There it is. Hey, how's it going?
Hey, hello. Yeah, I wasn't sure if characters have to be. I feel like characters have to be intelligent, like have human intelligence or something.
Nah, it's not that complicated. The goal of this was not to dig in on like what is and is not a character. I just wanted people to draw an original thing from imagination that we could chit chat about the creative process, and creatures fall into that easily. So, were you being like you saying that you had this really original idea? Is that sarcastic? Okay, good. I worried I just said that out loud, and I'm like, oh, I better not be wrong about that. So, tell me about your experience working on this week.
Yeah, as I said, in terms of creativity, I'm not sure how creative it was. And this idea that human exercise, I kind of just I've never really done characters. I've done creatures, a few. Basics, really like giving them backstories and so I just started drawing and something came out and I thought, okay,
Some people they do a lot of backstory. They do a lot of writing for their characters, and they want to develop them into stories like novels or movies or comics or whatever. But I don't feel like that's necessary. The main focus of this was to encourage this balance of imaginative work with the sort of study work that we've been doing, and so creature designs fall into that very cleanly. You creating just a bunch of different creature designs based off of mixtures of different animals or other inspirations, to me feels like a totally legitimate way of exercising that muscle. And like I thought this was a fun design, and it's a cool, weird creature. If you came across this just sort of turned a corner and that was there in a video game, this thing would be very intense to come across. I love the multiple tails. The face is intensely creepy. So, great. You're like, this is the sexiest, cutest character I could have come up with. I'd be like, and we all have our own takes on these things. But yeah, do you have any questions for me about the creative process or like the way you executed on this or anything?
yeah, well, I don't know. I know you write more for your characters.
After the fact.
Big impression for me not to do.
Yeah.
You write after.
Yeah, I always write after the fact.
They're based on something that you have like an interest in, like a deep interest in.
No, like where it starts is the name. Like it's the name that gets the thing going. So I start with just like a concept. Like you have spider monkey. It's like, okay, what if there was a spider and a monkey? That's the depth of it. And finding a personality in that, finding like personal connections to the base idea, that's like what the whole exercise is for me. And then once I've spent time exploring that visually and I get to know a little bit about what I want this thing to be, then it starts turning into, I can then start to write like little poems or short stories or whatever about the character, but it all starts visually. Like,
So how do you choose a name? Because that's something I always struggle with. It's like I could do a spider and something else.
yeah.
I'm really open.
Well, for years I've just done the angel of whatever, and that's been it. And I'll look online and find lists. But I was actually just making a bunch of creative briefs for myself for my RPG that I've started working on, and it's like crustacean watcher, body of spikes, eyes in an empty face, king of blood, rainwalkers. Like I'm just sort of, if I have a little tease of an idea that's inspired from an image or a thing I was reading or a thing I was thinking about, I try to write an evocative name or title, and then I try to use a process of association, like word association, and the images that I associate with those words to be able to like build out a visual library for what that concept is going to be, to like kind of unfold it and dig down into it.
So if I can ask that, just taking for example that rainwalker, where did that come from?
So I'm doing this whole thing where I'm taking the angels and I'm burying them in the ground, and I'm like having civilizations like come up out of their giant dead bodies. And so I'm like, okay, well, what kind of character would be associated with the angel of rain? And I'm imagining characters that are like attendants at a temple of rain, and there's pools everywhere. And I'm like, they'd be, if they were walking through these pools, maybe they would have like special shoes or like long stilts. And I'm like, rainwalkers sounds cool. Like, so I started with the general idea of like, I want a priest or attendant that is in a temple of the angel of rain. And I thought rainwalker sounded good. And so I wrote that down as a kind of shorthand stub of an idea that I know has the ability to blossom and unfold if I spend a little bit of time kind of poking at it and playing around with it and thinking about what other kinds of associations I have, and then looking up reference and developing sketches. I'm certain that there's something under there that will unfold. And then when I show it and I say like, oh, it's a rainwalker, people will be like, wow, where do you come up with your ideas? It's like, nowhere. It's just,
The name of the rainwalker comes from you're building like a world
yeah.
which has rain. And you want to make it about the rain. Is that right?
Yeah, well, I already have an angel of the rain, and I need a priest that is like sort of worshiping the angel of the rain. And I thought it's an interesting idea of rainwalker because it's like to walk between raindrops, like walk across raindrops would infer a kind of superhuman, impossible thing. And I don't know, it sounded cool. It started to evoke a lot of different little sparks of ideas. And whenever I feel that way, I'm like, I should write that down, and I should mine that later for creative ideas. So what you did here with like Spider Monkey, it's like, yeah, it's just teasing apart the words and the associations with words that ultimately lead me to a lot of my ideas, the same way you're doing. And you can really just start to get creative about that part of the process and get arbitrary about it. Just pick something that sounds cool. Think of if you just something sparks your imagination, some combination of words, something you see, that's all it's necessary in order to make it happen.
Spider monkeys are different things. I don't know how much you know.
Right. Well, but you're not far off from the process that I use for a lot of my creative projects. So, Yeah.
Yeah, I just find that openness, like
There's
there's too many choices.
too many choices. Like, but the thing I want to encourage people is to pick anything. Don't worry about whether or not you're picking the coolest idea. Just drill down on any given idea and see what's interesting inside of it. That's the best any of us can do. Because I think a lot of people get frozen at this idea they need to come up with the coolest idea for a character, the biggest thing. And as I've been highlighting previously, like, oh, a catfish that's also a fisherman, that's a big enough of an idea for me. That's a big enough of an idea for anyone, as far as I can tell. We like don't need to be coming up with like these, universe saving, Jesus figures all the time. It's like we just need to be like, I think the process of coming up with original characters is simply just coming up with a take on anything.
It's not an excuse.
Yeah, but also just like discovering what our own personal take on a thing is. All right. Well, I'm going to move on. Thanks so much for sharing your work.
Thank you.
Yep, good talking with you.
You too.
All right. We've got Miguel. Is Miguel here? Miguel's usually here. I see you in the audience. If you want to raise your hand, you're welcome to come up. Miguel Firewolf is here. Yep. Hey, Miguel. How's it going?
Hi, Peter. I'm good, thank you.
How's your experience with the work this week?
Uh, I enjoy a lot to do the character,
Mm-hmm.
but the only thing is I really don't used to do my own characters.
Mm-hmm.
I work more with commissions for other people,
Mm-hmm.
so it's really difficult to me to create a background story.
Mm-hmm.
So for now, I just concentrate on do the design, but I really enjoy the.
I'm hearing your mic cut in and out. So I'm gonna cut you off and I'm gonna start talking a little bit. I had a very specific take on this piece. I really like the aesthetic of this character a lot. It's right up my alley. There's a lot of things that are the kind of thing I like to draw personally, but I've repeatedly recommended that people avoid doing exactly what you did here, which is to start with a reference photo and stick closely to a single reference. I see this happen a lot where when people are trying to come up with an idea, they're like browsing Pinterest and looking for what's the thing that looks like the thing I want to make, and then using that reference image as a starting point. And sometimes, keeping the pose very similar or keeping the overall silhouette really similar or quoting a lot of, like keeping the design really close in some places to what the reference is and then trying to make it different in others to kind of, make it just different enough. I think that this always ends up leading to the work feeling a little bit stiffer, even though we have this really creative Cenobite character that's got this cool head shape, cool silhouette, demonic body. It all feels like it's not fully original, and like we have evidence to show like it actually isn't fully original. It's a bit of a copy of like one thing, and then you've made up a few bits or erased out some other bits. Like the headdress that they've got going on here is actually really, really cool. And it feels like, oh, I want to make that, but you can't make it exactly like that. So you have to like kind of mush it up a little bit. And it's that process of kind of mushing it up that I think actually takes away from the work at times. And so it's really very difficult to stick close to an original reference and then also elevate it. It's much easier to kind of like take a reference and then take it down a notch. But we don't want to take it down a notch. We want to go up a notch all the time. And so I always recommend like when it comes to concepts, when it comes to creating something original, I use reference for that process all the time. But I would look through it all, collect a bunch of it, look through a lot of it, and then put it away and start drawing with nothing up on the screen, without having a mood board or reference nearby.
Yes, maybe it will be good just if I like the head, just use the head, but you create a different post on my with my imagination, not just with the reference.
No, even more than that. What I would say is if you've seen a reference and you're like, I like the idea of a big fan on the head, I would recommend not looking at the piece, but like drawing a few versions of it on your own, trying out a bunch of iterations without there being like a right answer nearby. And then if you get something you really like and you want to double check to make sure that you've gotten all of the good juice out of the reference, you can go check it later once you have a drawing that you're confident in to see if you can elevate that drawing with content from the reference.
Yes, that's something I think I really struggle.
Mm-hmm.
The and I see many concept artists do the thing that you are telling to me right now.
Mm-hmm.
That is do quick sketches using the reference and then taking the little pieces or choosing one of the sketches at the end for the artwork. And I don't used to do that because I don't know how to do it. How to
Mm-hmm.
do thumbnails, little thumbnails, and choose one of them.
So my recommendation is to just don't use any reference at the beginning. Draw
Okay.
entirely from scratch, and then if you have parts about your drawings that you want to elevate, that you feel like they're not good enough, first try to redraw them, and then the second pass is to go and look at reference and ask, is there something in this reference that helps me elevate this? So instead of it being like the foundation at the base, like the reference being the first brick that gets put in, I would say build a whole tower, and then see if the reference can then push it upwards an extra couple of stories. Like use the reference to help add, like push up the work and elevate it and bring it further than it would go on your own, rather than like start there and then worry that you're going to live in the shadow of it.
Mm,
And so it's uncomfortable to be working without it. But I think that, going back and forth between working with reference for some studies and some schoolwork and then going to making your own thing, that back and forth process, it is uncomfortable to go back to drawing original ideas and like without reference. But that back and forth, it'll speed up your ability to learn. You will get more out of your time studying, and you will grow faster, and you will like learn to develop a relationship with, your creativity more. Because
okay.
when you rely on the reference, you are never using that muscle, and you may end up like becoming scared of asking your own brain for the ideas that maybe they're not good enough, because there's all these good ideas out there. Maybe yours isn't as good as these other people, and so you want to like try to be. It's easy to try to defend yourself from that,
Mhm.
but it's you have to. It's important, and you'll do fine. You've seen the other people that I've reviewed so far. They're doing fine. Like you'll do fine too. You need to just get some practice with it so that you're less scared of it, because you're not going to screw it up.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. Yes. Yes. Thank you very much
Thank
for
you.
your feedback.
All right. I've got a lot of lectures going on today, so I'm going to have to speed along to the next ones. Thank you for sharing your work. Amanda, you've got a beefy one this week. You got this whole you've got this whole blog post. Amanda, hey, how's it going? I'm doing great. It looks like you worked crazy hard this week. I didn't bring in the thumbnails, but you have this. You had thumbnails for the pose, leading into a sketch, and then the sketch led into rendered values, and then you started adding color to it. Tell me a little bit about your experience this week.
I'm trying to implement everything I've been learning in particular. It's the last 4 months or so. Like,
Mm-hmm.
helped me out with were concepting a character and trying different poses. So I'm like, okay, let's just take everything and starting something completely fresh from the beginning, and just see where that takes me, which was somewhere good.
Yeah, I'm really happy with how this is coming together. Really cool character. The drawing of it is really strong, and it's coming together overall as an illustration. The way you're doing this, where it's not just a piece of concept art, it's like a full illustration, posed, dramatic, with the characters acting, the camera is positioned, you've got them lit. That's the way I've like designed all my characters for years, is by doing them as an illustration rather than trying to like turn it into a series of like design steps. So I really relate to what you've got going on here. You were saying something about you having a struggle. I read this last Thursday was panic mode for me. Whoa.
Yeah, like I said,
What's all that about?
I'm toast. I haven't done like one season probably like a year or so, and like
Wow.
it didn't go great. So I was just like, oh crap, I gotta do this, and I have a week. Like usually things like take me like a month to do. So
Right.
that's where I was panicking. So I'm like, okay, I'm either gonna fall apart or this is gonna turn out. So it did turn out.
It did turn out.
And like I was just like, okay, just like let's put those negative thoughts aside and just I've learned a lot in the last year, and let's implement it all.
Yeah, I mean, the negative thoughts are going to be there whether you like them or not. And so like the choice is not really to have them or leave them, it's to like listen to them or not. And so that's like the only choice that we get. So yeah, you're getting it. And I would say I think that the values are coming together quite nice. The quick color splash that you've got going on here with the gradient maps, I'm not certain that the gradient maps is like your vibe. I've seen this a lot from people who like are familiar with my work. Some of them try out the gradient map thing. Maybe it's just early, but you might end up having a better experience just like glazing in the color with your blending mode of choice rather than like trying to get too much color in there with the gradient map. It's especially, the gradient map especially struggles when you have like large areas of like very dark colors. So you're going to be running into a problem with that because there's no way of getting that saturation into those spots. So you might end up having to like either paint in secondary lights after the fact or like go back to the values and paint in secondary lights. But that's all illustration issues. But I mean, I was just really impressed with the fact that you were experiencing these really negative thoughts, and yet you produced this really cool illustration, like the start of a really cool illustration with like, cool composition and just like a lot of presence for the character and like a really cool character design overall.
Thanks. It's a good dopamine hit of finally seeing all the work paying off.
Yeah, and like as I've been saying over and over, I'm gonna just keep repeating it with you too. Like I think that if you were to make time for this more regularly, instead of like doing study mode for a year and then do like one OC illustration and then go back into the study dungeon, like having it be a more regular part of your month to month exercise, I think would be really healthy. I've been honestly, my experience of like looking over the work this week made me wonder, hey, like, should I be creating we do the draw this into your style challenge, but like the draw your OC day being like, is this a monthly thing? Is this every other month? Do I like ask everybody to draw their OC? Because like,
it'd probably be a good thing for everybody because it's creating your own piece of art too and getting you out of the study dungeon.
Yeah, if I can be helpful in helping encourage people to like engage with this part of the process, that'd be great. So I'm really thinking about just like, putting this as like a mandate for like on regular intervals, like, all right guys, I'm doing OC again. And everyone grumbles and like starts to freak out because it's like if you're putting it off, like, I think it's a mistake. I think you should never be putting it off. I think it's if it's starting to make you feel anxious to draw an OC, it's time to draw an OC.
100%.
Yeah, it doesn't. You don't need to like. You don't need an excuse for it. You don't need to make a new one. You can draw the same OC over and over again. For most of college, I was like a handful of characters. I just redrew and redesigned, and like that process of like just sticking with the same dudes and reiterating them over and over again, I felt like it did a lot for me. I didn't really actually do any of the study stuff. All I did was assignments like this, but on repeat for 4 years straight, and I got pretty good. So I think it's probably best that everyone here is like also doing studies and things, but it's viable to become a professional off of only doing this kind of illustration work over and over again for years. It can lead to like having like a full on illustration career, concept artist career, stuff like that. So I this part of the reason why I'm suspicious of the whole idea that keeps coming up about like I'll draw my OCs when I'm good enough, because like I think that you get good enough by drawing OCs.
For sure. You gotta just jump in there and start doing it, regardless of how you think it's gonna look.
Yeah, great. Well, I'm really happy that you jumped in with it, and I'm happy you had feel so good about the work, because I think it looks great.
Thank you.
All right, thanks so much. All right. Oh, frick! I forgot to copy the text on this one. Dang. Whose was this? If this is yours, feel free to raise your hand. I'm gonna scroll back up and grab their comment really quick. They were one of the first ones. I saw this and I was like, oh, this is Moon Peanuts. Moon Peanuts has a little write up about their character on here. We go back to the chat. Moon Peanuts is raising their hand. Hey, Moon Peanuts. How's it going?
Hi. Good. All good. You?
I'm doing great. Tell me about the work this week.
Yeah, I think it was lots of fun actually. This was kind of like an revamp of an old character.
Mm-hmm.
The old one was very different actually. He was bald, no nose, no eyes, gray. Like his skin was gray. Just the red markings were kind of similar, not even the same.
Yeah.
And so I kind of wanted to give him more of like, what if he was actually like a bit more human, like actually a human, and trying to make him more real.
Yeah.
And
yeah, I pulled this in part because I was saying how I don't feel like I relate to how people are these days. I saw this and I was like, oh, instantly relate. Like this, like you've got this character where it's got this little gimmick where like the skin opens up and has the red markings underneath, and they've got a whole backstory, and like you're imagining like scenarios with them. This is like a fast food worker who sold their soul to a demon, and like then the demon gives them money, but they still have to work fast food, and it's like this is like the kind of daydreaming experience of like this isn't actually developing a comic, it's not actually developing a movie, but it's like hanging around daydreaming, thinking about cool things for a character to be and do. And like I'm like, that's it. To me, that's like the good stuff. And that's kind of what that's what I'm here to try to learn art to do, is to like engage with that process. So I saw this and I was like, okay, the flame's still alive. Some people are still out there making it happen. So I wanted to highlight this as one where this is an example of like what I relate to in terms of like thinking about making characters and what we're doing art here for. And so I thought it was really cool. What do you have any questions or want to comment a little bit about what I'm saying or anything?
I mean, like, thank you so much, first of all. And yeah, I feel like it's something that I used to really enjoy, like what all of that you've said before, just like redrawing a same character, just like imagining them and like thinking about like songs that I associate with them. Like I always think about that. And I felt so sad because literally like this is a character that I started like in 2014, but I kind of had an idea before, and then I stopped around like 2017, 2018. And since then because I felt like I didn't like the idea of like, oh, I'm not good enough for this, so I kept doing like just redrawing Pinterest pictures and like that, but it felt all the creativity that I think I had with this character before. So like having this exercise was really just like an idea to bring him back to life, bring back like all the memories, and just giving him kind of like a new life, and I don't know, getting the bag back on.
Yeah, and like what you said about how the character used to look quite different, but there are like key traits that you wanted to bring forward and that you wanted to try to do a new version of them. That evolution is so key because it's not like we come up with the greatest idea we're ever going to come up with and then we spend the rest of our lives having to like draw it exactly like how it's supposed to be. It's that like willingness to redefine what it's supposed to be and try to find new versions of them to update with our current sense of taste that I find is like the way that we propel ourselves forward creatively. So I think you're doing it. I think this is it. And I encourage you to not just sit in the study dungeon forever, because I think that if you are using the studies to get better at doing things like making your OCs and drawing them into scenarios and like creating more supporting characters and redesigning the old ones and just building and building and building like that is going to serve you really, really well.
Thank you. Yeah, I feel like actually the studies that we did before in this class kind of helped me, because the jacket, I really struggled with the shading of the jacket.
Mm-hmm.
And just going back to like the tips that you gave before on digital painting, it was kind of like, I don't know, it was really fun thinking about like the old character basically was just me using watercolor. I had no idea what digital painting was, and now to try to bring what I learned about digital painting into this.
That's right. The two cross over back and forth quite a bit. And like the style exploration that you're doing by creating original stuff is going to inform your study material. And like the points where you are struggling here, like if you have questions about how the clothing is folding or the way that you do shading across parts of the face, well, next time you go to do a study that has any of that stuff, you're going to remember a little bit of that question, and you're going to be seeking out the answers to those questions in the study material. So like doing this original work presents you, these questions arise. What is this supposed to look like again? And then you go and you do studies later and you go, now I know the answer. And it's like that process of asking and answering those questions back and forth. That is like how we build that visual library and grow. So I'm happy you're participating, and I'm happy to hear that you're learning stuff, because that's what it's all about.
Yeah, really enjoying this.
Great, fantastic. All right, I've got to move on. Thank you so much for participating. This is great work.
Yes, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Delia. I like that. I don't even need to. You don't even raise your hand. You just materialize. Delia, I've got 2 sheets worth of stuff for you this week.
Yeah.
Holy moly! You absolutely threw yourself into it this week. Tell me about it.
I did, yeah. Well, okay, so the feeling I first got when you said, "Oh, make your own OC," I'm like, I don't have any OCs, but it's like I do. Like, I think I just don't like. I see the characters I make just as like characters and not like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, it's just entities that have stories and have names and anything. So I was like, well, maybe I should try it. I don't really create a lot of stories and lore for my guys.
You don't have to.
Yeah, which I know you don't have to. So it was like, I was trying to just like doodle a lot because I didn't even know what to draw at first. But I knew I wanted to do something new.
Uh-huh.
And then I just had this idea of like, what if I just do something really stupid?
Yeah. You've worked with me long enough and like talked with me enough where you know how much I'm going to like that.
Yeah. So the first sketches were the pen at
Uh-huh.
the bottom left, and they were pretty rough because I'm just like kind of just working through the rough patch.
Yeah.
And then I merged the idea more on the top
Mm-hmm.
pieces. And then I was like, you know what? I kind of just really dig the way that some of these birds are shaped. And I just kind of went from there.
What a good
Just
quote.
whatever felt right.
I kind of dig the way that some of these birds are shaped. That is absolutely the vibe. That's the sweet spot right there. Like I don't feel like everyone's gonna hear that and go like, "Fuck yeah, yes, that's it." And I need to stop and highlight it. That it is what we're going for. And then like if you can truly feel that in your bones and be like, I just like the way that some of these birds are shaped, then you have access to this like unending well of like light and creativity you're able to pull out. It's just like it's so hard to like do that on purpose because it's not like a feeling you have control over, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like you get it. You've been trying for a while. You've done a lot of stuff with me, and now like I feel like you get it.
Yeah. It just has to hit the point again. I'm like, just do something stupid. Like,
Yeah.
I think because like I come in sometimes be like, I gotta make something really cool and epic. It's like, well, that always makes me like shut down.
Yeah.
I was like, you know what's funny? Just give this little bird guy a bird's nest on his head, and then I don't know, maybe these birds just sit on each other's heads or something like. That was kind of it.
I watched you try to do style. I watched you not try to, but you were doing stylized characters with me in mentorship for a while, and I don't feel like you ever got to this level of style and expressiveness until now. Like I remember freaking out when I saw you do studies with like the limited color palette, and I was like, "Holy shit, where's this been hiding?" Like again this week, you like came out with this new skill set that it's like I'm like, where was this hiding the whole time? Like,
I don't know, man. It's gotta happen.
Great. So I mean, you've been trying to poke away, find that weak spot, find the entrance into like the secret sanctum, and like I feel like you've really got a foot in it. Like this is such a great design.
Thank you.
Super cute, incredibly charming, and then you've got all this additional material, and you have like the whole process of coming to it recorded. I think all these colorways look really good too. I'm not gonna, it's not like, hey, build your whole career future on this, but like whatever you did to get to this, like it's working. That's my main thing I want to say. Like whatever you're doing right now is working, and if you could keep doing more of that, I would love to see it. I'm sure other people would too, because I'm in the chat, people are like digging it. So, any thoughts, commentary, insights? I mean, it feels like a breakthrough moment.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it kind of does. It was such an incredibly bumpy road to get here. By the time I was done, I'm like, oh, thank God I'm done. Like, so I don't know. I'd like to redo it, not redo it, but like make more iterations, of this guy. I think that would be kind of fun. I mean, I had fun coloring like those variations. Like, it was just kind of neat to just. Like,
No,
that's always fun.
I have a different take. I think you did good job on this. It's time to count this one and move on. Like,
Okay.
just put it on the board, put it on the website, be like, I got a good one. It's going on the gram. It's going on the website. I'm going to show this to people. And now it's time to repeat that and not be like, I'm going to do a hedgehog in the same style, in the same world, with the same type. No. Doesn't matter. You don't need to like create the Oliver cinematic universe. The point is the creative process. If you can continue to tap into the same process again for anything, and like what's going to happen is that you're going to end up with a whole bunch of stuff, and you're going to see through that collection of work through lines that like, oh, hey, it's funny that I keep drawing this the same way or making this same choice, or there are these themes that keep arising on their own even though I'm not meaning to keep coming back to this well. And that's like, you had a good breakthrough moment where you created a piece of work that you like, other people like, you're getting respect for it. It's not time to like stop and focus on that one thing. It's like, if you can, now you have to go through the process of like being able to do it again and again, because through that you're going to learn more and more about like how you work and what you do, and to show other people so that you can find jobs that are the right fit for you, and be able to like have a clearer sense on like doing it on command, because it's like having one good piece of work doesn't really do anything on its own. It's like it's your ability to access that skill repeatedly that is like the valuable thing.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, whatever other dumb ideas you like, just make them. And work on them to this level. And, you know, to this level is like, it's not an epic fantasy painting with a huge background. It's like a pretty simple execution. It's a little bit of a long road to like kind of whittle it down. Simple stuff takes a lot of iteration. Tons of iteration.
I feel like when I was in it, I was like, I should be doing more iterations, but I was like, I just want to get this done.
No. Yeah, the more complicated it is, the more it feels like you can just sort of like morph it and fix it as it comes together. And then with simpler stuff, it's like you just have to do like the whole character or the whole design over and over and over again. And you have to do like 50 of them before you like figure out where all the pieces fit together. Because simple stuff just is harder design wise, because it's just like so much more complicated of a puzzle.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Any questions?
No, I think that's all good.
All right, cool. Great work.
you.
Awesome to see it. All right. Soprit. We're running short on time. We got 2 more that I pulled. We'll see if they're here. Soprit's here. Are you able to be on mic? Can't talk, can type. Okay, Soprit was saying, it's an embarrassing long time since I last painted, drawn, sketched an OC. Kind of fell into a rabbit hole, and I'd like to do it when it kind of fell down the rabbit hole of I'll do it when I get good. I teased this a little bit, that you and other people all wrote this. This one's fresh in my head, even a little simple. I always struggle with adding intricate, smaller details. I don't know if there's this trick to this or it's just a practice thing. You know, I think you're doing just fine with the details. Like you have this like pattern across the cloth. It looks totally fine to me. It's wrapping around the cloth very well. You've got these little details of the fringe on the cloak that is reading just fine. I think that if there's a shortcoming to this illustration, it's that you have just a lot of space that you're not doing a lot with. You have these trees that are just kind of, oh my God, I don't know how to draw a line. Okay. You have these trees that are just kind of vertical. There's not like a lot of design to them. They're just kind of like up and down. And then you have a lot of just empty space. That's just empty space. And it's like, the goal is not to try to have to render and detail every square inch of this stuff, especially if we're just thinking about a character. I would not worry about it quite so much. I would focus on, you know, your feelings about the first steps, like how are they posed? How are their clothing designed? Like, what is the feel and the vibe of them? And if you don't like where that's going, it's not a matter of fixing it by getting the details exactly right, because I think you're doing the details very well. I think it's like, if you're not getting the sense of the presence of the character, it has something to do with like the way they're being posed, the angle that they're being shot from. I think that right now you have this very low, you have the horizon line actually, even though these trees are all down here and you have the darkness here, we have this fairly high horizon line here. The ground is disappearing into the darkness rather quickly, but it feels like we're kind of like the horizon line is very high, and we're very far away, and the perspective is very flat. We've got this like, if this were a camera, instead of it being like a lens like this, the camera has like a lens like this. We're standing on the other end of a football field, and we're shooting a shot of this character from like very, very far away. So we're not standing anywhere near them, and we're seeing a lot around them that's not really building on it. I think if you were to redraw this exact same character, same design, same skill set in rendering, but you just you looked at a bunch of reference photos of like fashion photography first, and then went and redrew it again, and just got that camera in a little closer. You got the camera in maybe a little lower. Get the horizon line further down. You know, just get that camera right there in with the figure, and just be like, let's get up in their face a little bit. They don't have a face, but you know what I mean. And see how that affects the way that you feel about how this is all coming together. And then when you have this, all of these flowing lines here, very fun, very energetic. But right now we've got this little tiny slice over here, and they're all kind of self-contained. If you were seeing this up close, we would have all of this action for these things to be flowing and overlapping, and like it will, the perspective that we have on this character is going to completely change it. So I think you've misidentified the thing that you're struggling with here. I think the design of the character is pretty cool. I like the idea of a headless figure with an evil enchanted crow for a head. Conceptually, very cool. All of the fundamentals very strong, but I think that it's that initial stage, that initial sketch, where you are hoping that the flatness that you're feeling at the beginning is going to be fixed at the end. And I am here to tell you that if you feel that at the beginning, you're going to feel that way about it forever, and that the solution is to do another sketch real quick. Maybe look at a little bit of reference, maybe go back over some of your basic drawing fundamentals, like think about like what makes an exciting shot, an exciting pose for a character. Look at some of your inspirations, and then go back and do another sketch. Like absorb some of that stuff into your subconscious, and then go draw again. And don't push forward to commit all of this rendering all this time until you have a feeling of like, hell yeah, this is so cool. I'm so excited about this fun, cool guy that I made. This idea is so like dumb. I love it. I want to see it. I'm so excited to like, I see what I need to do to draw, to like paint, to light, to like detail this character. I just need to make time to do it. Because like if the drawing has that at the beginning, you're going to have it all the way through the end. All right, yeah, it's just a redraw. It's simple. I think it's a really, really common mistake that when people go and try to make original stuff, that they have this image in their head, and they try to reproduce that image in their head, and it all comes out a little flat, and they go, no, it may look bad now, but I'll get them in the details. And the question is always, how do I do the details better? And it's never the right answer. It's very, very common. So you have an incredible amount of company. Probably people in this room are feeling this comment too. They have had the same thing happen, or they're in the middle of doing it right now. Super common stuff. So yeah, Dark, who is great at art, is like, yep, super common. So give it a shot, and I think you're going to like the experience, because I think you've got a really cool concept here, and I think that you want to see it through because the amount of time that I see on the painting. So give it another swing. And then we have Daradrim, who I don't recognize. Is Daradrim here? Managed to sit through the whole thing? Daradrim, coming up on stage. Hello, welcome.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Welcome. So you said you create a dragon hunter who has burns on his face and armor and weapons made with dragon bones and scales. Tell me about it.
Well, I actually read a lot of concept art characters. So I try to make. I love fantasy, like medieval fantasy.
Uh-huh.
So I don't have any a big background to the character, but I like the idea of have these battle scars, like burns and scars in his face, and the armor. I like the idea to who was he killed, take it and build his armor like that with bones and I don't know, something like that.
Yeah, it seems.
Sorry for my English.
No, your English is great. So what would you like to be doing better about this character?
Well, the coloring. So I tried the advice that you give me the last class. So for the black and gray and pass it to color. But I feel I don't get it right.
Okay.
So I don't know. I wanted that more vibrant colors in the armor or the scales, and I don't get it right.
Well, I mean, one of the major things here, you have the shadow up running across the whole front of the character. You have this very cinematic lighting where the character is being kind of lit from behind, and there's a big shadow over the whole front of them. It's very hard to do vibrant colors when everything is in shadow. So for a piece of concept art here, I think it's really common to see concept art as needing to look really cinematic and cool. But when it comes to concept art, I think it's much better to have a more, open lighting, to like have more of a sense of a soft lighting where we can see all of the curves and the big volumes of the character more easily. Like we have all of this stuff happening on the armor, and so we've got the big shapes. We got the big curve around the armor here, and then we have these like smaller, these medium shapes of like, these big bits here, and then we've got the teeny tiny ones with like all the little cracks and crevices, and you're trying to render kind of black against dark gray in order to show all of it because you've positioned the lighting from the rear, and that's making it really tough. I think if you look at a lot of concept art for movies and games, that is like the actual stuff they use. Typically, they just, you get a much cleaner look at the figure, and there's less of a focus on having dramatic lighting. So I would just put that light just up and to the left and just shine it across the whole front of him, because that's going to give you the ability to like, if I do soft light, we can relight this a little bit. I use soft light sometimes to push around lighting. You can see how just painting white and black allows you to kind of like redirect where light's coming from here. And this is going to give you the room to have more vibrant colors, but it's also going to give you room to be able to show off all those layers of like shapes and designs and stuff that you're putting up front. Because like if we have the lighting coming from up and to the left here, then we can say, well, this is now getting a little bit more, this side is getting brighter and this side is getting darker, and so we can show this like central shape running up the front. And then you can see how much more nuance we get between the deepest cracks versus all these other lumps here, to be able to like fill out all the rendering, all the interesting noodly shapes of all the bones and stuff on the front of the chest. Because it feels like a lot of the ideas that you have here are about all the textures, all the little intricate designs, but you're hiding them all from us. And so I would really like to be able to just set this image up so that we could see it better. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Totally.
Yeah, like it sometimes looks a little weird to have characters in very stylized, big, epic fantasy armor be shown. Like the stage lights have come up and they're just like standing there in broad daylight. It's difficult to make them look cool when, it's easier when they're in in more cinematic lighting with like a really strong silhouette and just like a hit of light going across the edges, and they've got this like intense rim light on them. But that's like, if you're just trying to draw out a character as a piece of concept art, I'm calling this out as concept art because you have like the simple gradient background and multiple callouts for the face, that this is like what's needed in order to really express this idea clearly to the audience. And so it looking super cool is just less necessary than being able to really see what all the shapes are doing and what all the details look like. Do you have any questions for me? Anything I can help with?
No, thank you for the feedback.
Okay, great. All right, and that's it. I'm 10 minutes over. Thanks everyone who submitted this week. We've got a tremendous amount of work that I didn't even get a chance to get to. I didn't line up a piece of reference before I went on air today, which is not typical for me. But I figure while we've already exited the study dungeon, we're going to take one more breath out here in the open air. and I want to see you all create a landscape from imagination. I want to you could draw anything. You could draw the Windows XP background, basically, where it's just a grassy hill with clouds behind it. You don't need to be good at painting to participate in this. Draw whatever scene you want. It can be fantasy, it can be sci-fi, it can be modern day. You can draw a city, you can draw a forest. Just paint an environment that comes naturally to you, that you will have a nice time working on, and share it with everybody so that we can all see the sorts of things that you find beautiful. And that's it. We're going to get back to serious study where we like copy photos or whatever next week. We'll get back to it. This isn't going to be it forever. But now that we've done these characters, I realized, you know what? There is more big chunks of ground to cover on this imaginative side. I'm really curious what you guys are going to do with working on environments. It's a weak spot for me, but I've done environmental painting here and there, just muscled through it. It takes me 3 times as much time to finish one. And so for some of you, you might be dreading this. So if you're dreading it, give it a try and see how bad it goes. We'll see if we can find some like common ground where we're all relating to the ways in which this is hard for us, and hopefully provide some insight into how to do this better starting next week. I'm going to write it out in the homework channel really quick. What were the words that I used? I'm going to say create imaginative landscape. I'm going to say without direct reference. In any time, place, or setting. And I'm going to say have fun with a smiley face, because that's actually part of the assignment. If you don't have fun, then I'm going to curse you and curse your family name. All right? Any last minute questions before I dump out of here, since we're running long? If there's anybody who has any really quick last minute questions, feel free to raise your hand. I would love to address them. Shade King NFX. Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Sorry, I was just working on my art commission, and I'm just like, I was just interested in what is this basic of digital painting, and.
Oh, every week we meet up, I give an assignment, and then the next week I review the work for an hour. And so,
sorry, I didn't do any OCs. I did build an OC. It's just literally a smiley, a strawy guy with just a huge bump on his head.
Feel free to participate in the next week, and then if I pick your work to look at, I'll talk to you then. All right?
Okay. What's due next week, actually?
Due next week is an imaginative landscape, done without direct reference.
Okay.
All right. Have a good one. And then Say Ned has a question here. I'm bringing them up too.
Hello.
Hi, how's it going?
I'm all good. What about you?
I'm doing good. So what's your question?
Yeah. I was actually, it's not quite a question, but it is, I guess, in a way. Basically, I'm curious if we could actually get a monthly or something, a draw your OCs kind of thing.
Yes, because, we have a monthly challenge for Draw This in Your Style. I thank you for the reminder. If somebody could link in the chat, yes, Dustin's linking in the chat challenge prompt. Yeah. There is a monthly Draw This in Your Style challenge where the winner every month gets to be the subject of the following month. We've got a really, really good one. Let me bring it up on screen here. The character's name is Salman, and so the challenge for this week is to draw this character in your style.
Ooh. Okay. Ooh, he's really cool.
He is really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if the artist who created this is going to judge all the entries, we've got an event for that coming up, and then they'll be picking a few winners of people they just want to honor, and then we're going to have a grand prize winner who is going to get to contribute the OC for next month's challenge.
Oh, that's really cool.
Great. I'm glad you like it. I hope you participate. I hope all of you in the chat participate. I'm going to participate. Scott did a 3D version of Salman here that looks incredible. So I'm happy to see the bar keep getting raised on this. It's even if you don't think you're going to win, it still should be a fun exercise to participate in, because it's an opportunity to spend a month doing something imaginative. So yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I think having a monthly challenge like that is what we need.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm excited about the next week's assignment, and it was very cool to listen to you speak about your creative process as well.
Great, I'm happy to share. Thanks for showing up. All right, guys, I think that's it. I'm gonna mosey. I'll see y'all back here next week. Thanks for coming by every week and making this one of the best parts of my week. I'll see you guys around. Goodbye.